Ladies and gentlemen, very good morning to you and welcome. 5 years ago, almost to the day, I stood before you here on this podium, in this venue, to welcome you to what was then our first Teaching and Learning Conference convened by the new Teaching and Learning Office. It was actually the third conference hosted by UKZN, but our first under the banner of the new Teaching and Learning Office. Since then, the conference has moved from Edgewood to Pietermaritzburg to Westville, and then last year to Howard College. And with each migration came a mutation in the character, the size, the shape of the conference, the themes. And let me, on your behalf, welcome especially a few of our guests, notably Professor Philip Altbach, who will address you shortly, from Boston College. Professor Guy Standing, are you here yet, Guy? Not yet, but he's around. Professor Paulus Gerardis. Is Paulus? Yes, right at the back. Thank you. Welcome, Paulus. And somebody who is with us, but not quite for the conference, a special guest from Aston University, a corpus linguist specialist, Professor Ramesh Krishnamurthy, and he's here to take part in a parallel corpus building workshop that's being hosted by the Department of Linguistics. I will return shortly to this podium to make a few announcements, but I'd like to hand you over now to our DVC Teaching and Learning, Professor Renuka Vital, to open this conference.
Let me add my warm welcome to our guest speakers and to all our visiting delegates from outside KZN, as well as from all the institutions and my fellow colleagues and students who are here today. When I wrote the welcome message that's in your pack, the CHE proposal for undergraduate curricula was sort of on the scene but hadn't yet been released. And I was thinking about quite a lot of what we would be anticipating from the release of this proposal that might significantly overhaul the undergraduate higher education system in the country if those proposals are to go through. It's worthwhile just to kind of pick up on the discussions which are emerging around the idea that all the 3- and 4-year degrees should be extended by a year, and what that will mean for the system, for funding, for curricula, for just a whole range of things. What has been emphasized a lot in the discussion so far around the proposal is the idea that introducing the degree will hopefully improve our throughputs, which, for example, in the 3-year degree, the 2006 cohort, which is used as an example in the proposal, shows that only 29% of students graduate in minimum time. And in fact, only 20% of African students who take the 3-year degree graduate in 3 years. So a lot of the discussion has been very much focused on that aspect. And maybe much less about what are the opportunities that would present higher education institutions to quite fundamentally rethink what the curricula would be. So to quite fundamentally start again and say, how could we transform, revise, review, rethink, complete in a new and different way? Just going back to the throughput, enrollment, dropout, graduation discussion, at least one point that is arising as one of the things the proposal is attempting to address, which coincides with the coming out of the National Development Plan and the Green Paper on higher education, on the further growing of the enrollments across the sectors. So as it's helpful to remind ourselves that both those national plans expect the system to grow from just under 1 million to 1.6 million at least by 2030. That will be a huge growth, and the question will be what else would need to grow in order to achieve those enrollments? Of course, the parallel to that is a big debate about growing the enrollments, but not then the graduates. So far, the state has invested hugely in infrastructure and efficiency funding. Massive amounts, at least 2 rounds of funding of several billion rands have been provided to institutions to grow their infrastructure. And so many institutions have put up new buildings and additional lecture halls and so on. But it's quite interesting to observe, or important to observe, maybe not interesting, but important to observe, that we have not had an injection to grow the academic base. So the National Development Plan and Green Paper acknowledges the huge growth we've had. And I was just using the recently released CHE Vital Stats document and noticed that from 2005 to 2010, enrollments increased 21.5%, while instructional and research staff only increased 14.6%. And that, in fact, staff-student ratios grew from 24 to 28 across the system. So I think that's going to be quite the big challenge, one of the big challenges of many others, about how we actually expand the academic base, but also assist academics to be better prepared to be able to teach the diversity, the increasing diversity of the students that we have. So I would like, I'm keen to hear and encourage, and in the next few years at least, and also in this conference, for us to think about what we really think those curriculum reforms should be. If the undergraduate degrees are grown to 4 years, at the moment the proposal kind of almost presupposes that you would expand or stretch some of the modules so that students would be taking them over a longer period. But a different approach might be to say, if we didn't take this incessant remediating approach. Yes, we know schooling's not giving us the quality and the number of graduates we require. And as the CHE document notes, it's unlikely to do so, at least for the foreseeable future, given the challenges that this schooling system has. How do we think about the curricula? Less in terms of the remediation aspect, and more in terms of preparation for the future. And I'm especially looking forward to Professor Altbach's talk on this respect, because he has been raising some of these issues around in the global sense. And then, of course, Professor Paulus Gerdes, who's going to be talking about maths education and ethnomathematics and what that could mean and what does it mean and what could it mean as we move towards thinking about how indigenous knowledge systems can and should become part of higher education, teaching, learning, research, and so on. So what I maybe in these few opening remarks want to focus on is the future, how curriculum, how the opportunities that these national shifts We are expecting the green paper to become a white paper. We are expecting a new funding framework. There's a new housing, student resident policy, a whole range, a raft of policies that are meant to arrive in the next year or two on the higher education scene. And of course, the one I'm focusing on is the curriculum reforms at undergraduate. How do these present us with an opportunity to look to the future? Of course, while acknowledging where we are, but the way in which the world is changing and the world our students will inhabit into the future is so different from the one that we have known and do know. We would be remiss not to seriously think about that. And I want to maybe then conclude on a positive note, which is to say that one of the things that analyses at UKZN, we've been analyzing the throughputs and dropouts and graduate rates as do many other institutions. And it's really quite pleasing to see one of the areas that we are tracking, which are the exceptional student performance, students who are graduating cum laude and summa cum laude, to observe who are they and in what areas are they succeeding and where are they going. That the number of course, women students dominate in that group, I should say. But it's been also interesting to note that we've seen a huge increase in the number of African students graduating at the cum laude and summa cum laude performance. And that, in fact, when there are some studies underway, and I think we need much more to understand success, to understand how students who have the same odds against them as many other students, but do succeed. You know, what helps those students to succeed? What is it about them, about their circumstances, about their life experience that enables them to succeed? And there are some studies being undertaken now, and certainly some of the emerging insights around the important role that mothers play, the important role those students talk about reading, and so on. So I would like us to focus more on the successes we achieve in our teaching and learning than only focusing on the ones who are dropping out. And of course we should focus on them and understand what leads to dropouts and non-completion and so on, but much more about those who are also successful and academics who are successful. So I think I'm very pleased that to note that the number of distinguished teachers who are recognized each year at the teaching and learning at the graduations and are recognized as expert teachers. And I'm pleased to let you know that the two distinguished teachers that we recognized last year, Dr. Anthony Collins and from psychology, and Dr. Corey Skuman. I'm pleased to let you know that Dr. Anthony Collins has just been informed that he will be one of 5 academics who will receive the National Teaching Excellence Award that is offered by the CHE and HALTESA. So with those words, I wish you well in the presentations. I encourage you to attend all the presentations. I know there are many parallel sessions, and there are really several very good papers. And I also encourage you to, as part of to maximize the inputs you get on your presentations and to submit them for publications. I really do think it's really important that there is much more research output created around teaching and learning and the analyses that we are doing in all the different areas that each of you are doing. I'm very pleased to note that each year we disburse about 1.5 to 2 million rands on a range of projects, and we've been doing so for the last 5 years. And at the last count, we can account for directly just under 200 publications from all of the initiatives that are undertaken by the Teaching and Learning Office. So we're really pleased that the people who are attending the conference do attend and present and take the benefit of these discussions, but then also ensure that that work gets put into the international and national domain and it informs then the kinds of policies and practices going forward. So I wish you all a very, very productive conference and look forward to hearing you. Thank you.